Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Sober Dad Sunday. My name is Matt, and we're getting started, well, a few minutes late. Um, computer or Restream or some configuration thereof decided to have some technical difficulties. So I gotta be honest, I'm coming on tonight just a little bit annoyed with some of the tech issues, which is actually a little bit appropriate for some of the things I was thinking about talking about tonight. First of all, this is, like I said, Sober Dad Sunday. My, I'm Matt. I'm a sober person. I've been in recovery from alcohol for a little over 2 years. I'm a dad of three kids, and it is Sunday. You don't have to be any of those things to participate in our conversation tonight. Don't have to be a sober person, or even sober curious. Don't have to be a dad. Don't have to be even uh, interacting with this material on a Sunday because it's recorded and archived on Facebook and YouTube. So, uh, didn't do this last week. It was Easter Sunday, had a lot of stuff going on, and we were preparing the next day to leave on a spring break vacation with our kids. Went to New York City for a couple of days. The kids had never been there. It was lots of fun, and so I just kind of gave myself a little break last week. But as parents know all too well that going on vacation with your kids is different than going on vacation when it's just you or your partner, whoever. You just take your parenting and you go to a different place, and that can be challenging. And it certainly was with three kids in a very big city where everything is very busy and hectic. In particular, with our youngest, who we were really worried the whole time about, making sure she didn't just, jump out into the street while cars were going, or, get lost on the subway or things like that. It was very easy, and sometimes, it did get the better of us in terms of our anxiety about things, uh, or like sometimes when you plan something for a long time, you've invested a lot of time. New York City is all kinds of expensive, so we invested quite a bit of money doing this, and of course, wanting everything to go perfectly. It's very, very easy to get upset or frustrated or just kind of lose your mind if everything doesn't go exactly the way you want it to. And that happened a few times where we were definitely tempted towards that and really had to kind of evaluate and go, okay, what's really important here. Um, and I think that just that experience, having done that on vacation, I think that's got a larger application for a lot of us. Give you a couple of examples. The weather, going on spring break, you're rolling the dice with the weather anywhere you go, but particularly if you're going farther north than where you're normally at. So it could have been warm and lovely, and of course that's what we were hoping. New York in the spring can be a wonderful place. As it was cold. It was in the 40s, and Stephen Colbert even pointed this out on his show one of the nights we were there, is that people got to experience New York in the spring. 40 degrees and rain that somehow bounces off the pavement and straight up into your underwear. It was cold. It was wet. It was windy one particular day. When we took the ferry out to the Statue of Liberty and then to Ellis Island, the swells on the boat were pretty high. And at one point, when we were on Liberty Island, trying to kind of walk around to the front part to see the front of the statue, do family selfie from up under there, the wind was blowing so hard off the harbor, and the rain was coming sideways, and it was causing our kids to freak out and lose their minds. Several of our umbrellas were turning inside out, quite comically, like you often see in movies or something. And yeah, part of that because they were $5 umbrellas we bought on the street that were cheap, mass-produced things. And it was easy to get upset. And go, this sucks. We shouldn't have done this. Why did we do all this? And it was easy to miss, like, hey, we're at this place that has this incredible history and incredible meaning. We got inside pretty quick because it was pretty darn miserable. out there. But once we got inside, just to say, okay, well, you know, yes, the weather does in fact stink right now, and we can gripe and bitch and whatever we want about this for long as we want, or we can appreciate the fact that we're here, that we're getting to have this experience together. And I had mentioned to my girls uh, about the weather and the crazy wind and stuff like that. It's like things that like really stink and aren't fun in the moment usually make the best stories later. And I'm pretty sure that when they head back to school on Tuesday, one of the first things to say is, "We almost got blown into the harbor on Liberty Island because it was raining sideways and all this crazy stuff." It'll make a great story, even if it stinks in the moment. And so it can be so easy to have some big grand vision in your head about every single thing you want to go exactly a certain way. And if it doesn't, if even one thing is off, it's really easy to just kind of sink into a place of, well, why did I do all this work for this? This was stupid. Shouldn't have done this. That can happen when the weather doesn't work in your favor, or like happened another night when the line to even get in a restaurant we were trying to get into was so long that we were literally scrambling to uh, get sit down, scarf down our food, which we paid a like a insane amount of money for, and then to get across the street so we could get to our show in time. We saw Wicked, and we were at one point running to make sure we got into our seats before curtain went up. Otherwise, they'd have made us wait, 10 more minutes to get in there, and that just would have been all kinds of frustrating because, again, paid a lot of money for those tickets. And yet, one of the things our kids said that later on, one of the things they loved was just sprinting across that part of the theater just to make sure we got there on time. Could have gotten so derailed by the stuff that didn't go exactly one particular way that we could have missed all the great stuff that was happening then. Could have had our eye on such a grand vision, big picture, whatever you want to call it. Could have gotten so just focused in on that we would have missed all the good stuff that happened, sometimes even in spite of the way certain things kind of went off the rails a little bit. I'm thinking that in terms of, well, gosh, just parenting in general. We often come in with lots of grand visions, the ways we want things to go. Maybe when our kids are babies, we will start projecting about the kinds of personalities they'll have or the things that they'll want to do or like to do. And it may turn out that they're into those things. Then again, it may turn out that they're just like an entirely different person. They're their own person, no matter what sort of visions we may have had for them or whatever. And we can get so stuck and focused on that stuff and just kick rocks and gripe that those things aren't exactly the way we wanted them the entire to every jot and tittle. We can miss all the good that's in front of us. I think that can happen with any of us in any relationship or any kind of thing we're approaching in our life, whether it's a big goal that we're wanting things to go just a certain way, whether it's a relationship with a spouse or a partner, or we have some grand vision for things to be a certain way, whatever the case may be. It's so easy to get tripped up by, frankly, very little stuff that we miss all the good, all the wonderful things that are happening in the midst of that, just because it doesn't always fit whatever we already laid out. Tomorrow, if you're in certain parts of North America, there will be a solar eclipse happening moving across part of the United States, and we're going to try to drive a little farther north to catch it. And if you're on the internet too much, like I am, like a lot of people are, you see there are a lot of people with some interesting ideas out there about some grander cosmic significance of this than just the fact that where we are happens to fall in a place where the moon overshadows the sun for a couple of minutes. And people, particularly of a religious bent, like I happen to be, want to assign some great cosmic significance and come up with theories about how God is gonna roll back and end history as we know it, and looking up to all these big things, and have these great expectations, and look for all that. In the midst of doing so, it can often miss so much that is wonderful that is going on that isn't as big or noticeable or the sort of thing you can package and sell and make money on. And that's what's behind a lot of that. How often do you and I, every single day, lose focus, forget what's really important, and miss all the wonderful things that are going on right in our midst just because they're not big and loud, just because they don't fit some preconceived notion of all that we put forward there, and really what we're putting up there is ourselves and our notions and our plans and our ability to control. How often do we get sidetracked by stuff that seems huge at the moment, but really isn't, and we fail to notice all that is good and wonderful just because it falls outside of things exactly as we may want them? I know for me, I still do it now. I don't drink to deal with it now, but I have so many grand romantic visions in my head of the way things should go. And even when things went well in previous parts of my life, if we had let's say Sunday morning, when I thought that I preached a really great sermon and we had people join the church and, whatever, all those outward trappings, I would always end up just focusing on, oh gosh, yeah, but that worked, but man, this other thing didn't. I would just focus in on the littlest, tiniest things, and that would just eat me alive. Why? Because I'm a perfectionist? I don't know. Because a lot of it came down to wanting to control things and being afraid that any little thing would unravel everything else. Or maybe it's the imposter syndrome. People finally figuring out I'm not as great and smart or whatever as I want them to believe that I am. And like I said at the start, I'm tempted towards that, getting angry and frustrated right now because the technology was being kind of a pain in the rear end. And lose focus on just the fact that I'm just here sharing thoughts that I think might be valuable to whomever out there I think might be consuming it right now or later on whenever you view it. So as I'm coming into land, I just want to encourage you this week. Maybe you have a lot going on. Maybe you have a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders. Maybe you have big plans, or maybe you just have ways that you'd like things to go. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll work out exactly the way you want them. And if they do, good for you. But if you're like most of us, some things here and there, and heck, maybe everything, will not work the way you want them to, because we have very little control over so many things. And when those inevitable hiccups, screw ups, whatever you know call them, whenever they happen, at that moment, you have some choices to make. So as you go about your week, I hope that when those moments show up, you'll make the choices to go, okay, well, that didn't go as planned. That's not what I want. Okay, what can I realistically do about it? And where's the good that's in the midst of it anyway? What can I find that is wonderful and rejoice in anyway? We'll come back together next week. Let me know how it goes. I'll put that down in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. What happened? How did things go off track? What was good there anyway? That's all for this week. Thanks for tuning into Sober Dad Sunday. As always, I wish each of you the best as you're out there striving to be the best person you can be for the people around you because they're worth it. And most of all, as you strive to be the best person you can be for you because you're worth it. God bless, friends.